Just when you thought I had given up on my months of mask, as I have done in the past with promises I've made, but I've learned my lesson, and now with July has finally, once we are in the middle of the month, I've realized that I am due for a video. Luckily, Masked Singer is kind of an easy topic to just kind of pull a video out of. And I think I've got one. So, I think last month, I believe I did my favorite Masked Singer performances, and one of my favorite concepts, not really concepts, but parts of Masked Singer is the masks themselves, because they're always very interesting and like, you can see all the craftsmanship that goes into them. That being said, sometimes they can get a little weird, so I'm going to count down the 10 weirdest masks on The Masked Singer, like across all 3 seasons. I guess I could include from like UK or Australia, but let's just keep it simple and stick to US, shall we? Don't get me wrong, I love the deer, but I would be a fool to not see that there is something a little bit creepy about the deer. I think maybe it's because, unlike a lot of the animal masks, they actually represent what actually looks like an animal, whereas it's kind of I don't know, almost like like an adaptation of a deer, like a dystopian deer. And now this isn't really involved with how weird it is, but I actually never noticed this. The leather and the lace on the front of the face of the mask resembles like the lace is on a football, and the person behind this mask was Terry Crews, legendary quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, I love this mask too, but there's one thing that's wrong with it. 4 legs. Once again, I liked this mask, even for how short of a time it was on, but hey, I said that these were the weirdest masks I'd ever seen, not my least favorite. I always mentioned how I liked its Tron-like theme, and it does maybe partake to what I was saying about the deer, and how it wasn't necessarily that animal-like. Probably my biggest nitpick, and this proves how weird it is once the mask was removed, it just looked like a normal outfit. When you take away that elephant mask, it really just looks like a very futuristic tracksuit. And sure, this mask would probably end up on my least favorites list anyways, but the reason it ends up on my weirdest list is, I don't know, from the first time they showed this mask, something looked weird about it. Maybe it was the angle. But then once the season actually, was happening, I felt very bad for Bella Thorne, who was behind the mask, because that head, the mask's head, is so tall. It's like it was a giraffe mask, and it looked extremely uncomfortable for her to wear. So that's really why I think it's a weird mask. I also liked this mask, despite its short life in Season 1. The big problem I have with it is that you can see it's fake, but it's like the chest of a human. So it doesn't feel like a fanciful pineapple creature anymore. It feels like it's not even a costume, it's just a mask. Now, I'm pretty sure Tommy Chong isn't that built, but it definitely was a little bit interesting. The Bee, one of probably the greatest masks of all time when it comes to performances. But the thing is it doesn't really look like a bee, and I know you're thinking, but what about its antenna? What about its wings? Yes, it does look like a bee. Well, sure, but, I mean, the antennas seem a little bit too thick for a bee's. The wings feel like a little bit of an afterthought, and besides that, I mean, I don't know, just kind of doesn't look like a bee, and this will come up later on a mask down the road, with it not really looking like what it's supposed to portray. But it does look weird. I guess the good thing is I always thought that honey is like a honeycomb ruff looked kind of cool, but that's kind of it. Going into Season 2, I was super pumped about the egg mask, and once again, it was eliminated right away. But here's the thing is, its egg-like features end at its head. It's nice and glitzy and whatever, but that doesn't really scream egg. And I mean, some people might not notice that the hat is like a fried egg, and might not notice that the head is an egg, and see the rest of the body and not know what the heck it is. That being said, I really do like that egg hat, and I think it's probably one of the most creative and ingenious costume pieces ever to be seen on the show. Man, the Night Angel sure was a swell mask on her season. She won after all. But I said it when I gave my first impressions of all of the masks on that season, and I'll say it again. She's just too human-like. And I mean, sure, Astronaut might have been the first mask to be basically a human profession, except that they made sure not to personify the astronaut too much, and with the Night Angel, she basically has the closest they've ever gotten to a human face, and that, I don't know, that always skeezed me out, and that, her whole appearance at first seemed very, ominous. Overall, I also really loved the tree from season 2. I loved her even more when I found out that the woman behind the mask was none other than Anna Gasteyer. I'm a huge Saturday Night Live fan, and I always was a huge fan of that kind of troupe of actresses like Anna Gasteyer and Tina Fey, Amy Poehler. Definitely a huge Maya Rudolph fan. But anyways, getting sidetracked. Yeah, I can't help but notice that the tree's appearance is kind of creepy with, those dead eyes and that big gaping mouth, and it's important to me that I get this little bit of information out there. I always thought it resembled the Stanford mascot for the football team. But with that all in mind, probably my biggest bit of judgment is that it's kind of pigeon-headed as a Christmas tree, especially because this whole season kind of began in, the fall, and sure, it ended around Christmas time, but having a Christmas-themed mask in a show that starts in the fall, they're a little bit bold to assume that the tree would make it that far, especially because not a lot of people would have any knowledge going into the show of who would be behind that mask. So that's the thing is, it would have been a little weird if a Christmas tree went out way before Christmas. Oh boy, the ladybug. Okay, we're doing this. This doesn't look like a ladybug. I mean, okay, sure, the little shoulder things, epaulettes, whatever you want to call them, yeah, those look like ladybugs. The thing on her head looks like a ladybug split in half. The things on her dress, they look like ladybugs. This doesn't mean she looks like a ladybug. If anything, she looks like some Victorian era, I don't know, woman, I guess. I don't know what exactly they wore in the Victorian era. Just covered in ladybugs. That's not a ladybug. And I hate to be super critical, but I mean, look at the mask. Look at the mask. That it's scary. It's scary. It's not a ladybug. And then I always didn't really get the whole tassels on the back of the head. There's just so much wrong with this mask. And the first time I looked at it, I just went, "What? Is this a joke? Are you kidding me?" Make sure to comment below if there's any that I forgot that you thought were pretty weird, because there are probably some people that loved the way the ladybug looks, and that's kind of the beauty of the show, is we can all have our own opinions on what masks we like and what we don't like. Yeah, but make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you later.